Shabbat Shalom and welcome everybody.
Shalom.
We are coming to you from our beautiful sanctuary. Just a reminder that you will find, as always, a link to the prayer book pages, PDF, for this service in the comments. Important information will also appear in the comments during the service, and for that we thank Dave Zucker, Riley Hendricksey, and Aviva Simons, who are managing our streaming. Please say hi if you are watching by typing Shabbat Shalom in the comments line, and don't forget to click enter. For immediate technical assistance, please text CBT's technical support line at 913-303-1134. If you have any comments or suggestions about our service this evening, we suggest that you take notes and you send us an email during the week with your comments. We thank you in advance. We will continue together now as we welcome Shabbat by lighting the Shabbat candles. The blessings are on page 120. If you are lighting candles at home, please go ahead and light the candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We continue our service as we welcome Shabbat together with the words of Kabbalat Shabbat, beginning on page 130. We join in singing the words of Psalm 95, Lechu Neranena. Our service continues on page 138. As we sing together Lecha Dodi, we'll sing stanzas 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. All the odd numbers.
Lecha
Dodi, Nikerat Kala, Bene Shabbat, Negavela. Lecha Dodi, Nikerat Kala,
Oh, that's me. Shemor v'zachor b'dikur echad, Hishmi'anu el hamichad Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, Tashem oti panet beliti la
Lecha Dodi, Nikerat Kala, Bene Shabbat, Negavela. Lecha Dodi, Nikerat Kala, Bene Shabbat, Negavela. מקדש מלך, עיר מלוכה, ומצאי מתוך ההפכה, רב לשבת בעמק הבכר, והוא יחמול לכם לה לחדודי, לקראת קלה, B'nei Shabbat לקבלה לחדותי לקראת קלה בני שבת לקבלה
התעוררי, כי בא הולך קומי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה
לחדותי לקראת קלה בני שבת לקבלה לחדותי לקראת קלה בני שבת לקבלה והיו למשיסה שוסייך ורחקו כל מבלייך יסיס עלייך אלוהייך ימסוס חתן על כלה לחדותי לקראת קלה בני שבת לקבלה לחדותי לקראת קלה בני שבת לקבלה
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני ים סגולה בואי חלה
לחדותי לקראת קלה בני שבת לקבלה לחדותי לקראת קלה בני שבת לקבלה. We continue together at the top of page 147. There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. Nevarech, let us bless.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We join together in singing Mi Chamocha on page 158.
מי כמוך נדע בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש. נוראתי לו אוסף אלה
Page 161, we join together in the middle of the page. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours.
Baruch atah, atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah, atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Adonai, haporei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. V'shamru bnei Yisrael et haShabbat. La'asot et haShabbat ledovotam. Be'erith olam. Beini uvein bnei Yisrael oti leolam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Ubayom hashvi'i Shabbat, Shabbat, vayinafat Shabbat, Shabbat, vayinafat. Shabbat, Shabbat, vayinafat. Shabbat, Shabbat, vayinafat.
This moment in our service, we make it possible for all of us to share this moment in silent prayer. You may choose to offer the prayers beginning on page 164 through page 180. And also this might be a time for offering private prayer, one with your loved ones. And on this beautiful Shabbat evening, looks beautiful outside, and we're blessed to be here together celebrating Shabbat. We'll begin together on page 164, and then we'll come back together for a song in 180. In the meantime, we'll take our own time for prayer.
Stand and pray to the one. Step forward, let the blessings be sung. With my brothers and my sisters, I will open Shvatai tiftachu fi agi tehila techa. Adonai Shvatai tiftachu fi agi tehila techa.
This moment in our service, we turn to those in need of healing. You may access the Mishe Berach list through the e-news that you received this morning, or you can also follow the link found in our comments. If you'd like to offer names, please type them in the comments, and we can all see them. Remember to type and click enter. Please go ahead and begin typing. As we offer a prayer for those in need of healing, we also think of those who help in healing, first responders and health workers all over our country and all over the world. May the one who blessed and led our forebearers give countenance unto those who provide help for the ill and trouble among us. May they be filled with fortitude and courage, endowed with sympathy and compassion as they give strength to those at their side. May they fight against despair and continue to find within themselves the will to reach out to those in need. And in their love of others, may they feel the blessing of community and the blessing of renewed faith. It is now time for our Simcha moment. If you are so moved to share special Simcha, a joy from this past week, please do so by typing your Simcha in the comments line. It may include your birthday, anniversary, good news, and accomplishments of all and any kind. Please just use a few words and click enter. Today I have a different poem. We have shared some of Rabbi Berenblatt's poems in the past from her book on Elul poems, which we used last year, and we may use again this year. This is on Parashat Erev, which is this week's Torah portion. And so that you know, this week's Torah portion recounts the story of the manna that the Jews ate in the desert, a food that was really not known to them or to their forebears until that time. And this was part of God's plans to show them that one does not live by bread alone, but rather by what God decrees, by the word of God. So that verse is what gave rise to this week's poem, and also hints at several other images from Deuteronomy chapter 8 as it unfolds. And the poem by Rabbi Rachel Berenblatt is called Not by Bread, Erev. Not by bread alone, but by God's words. Not by righteous indignation, but by compassion. Not by chastisement, but by longing. Not by insistence, but by meeting face to face. If you want to live, if you want to inherit, if you want streams to irrigate your arid heart, if you want to bear fruit to taste what's rich and sweet, remember the path where God has walked you. As we now gather all the simchas that you have shared with us on this Shabbat, we offer a prayer. Divine source of blessings, we thank you for everything that enriches our lives. We now turn to you with gratitude as we share the happiness of those who have marked their birthday, anniversary, good news, and accomplishments. Adonai, be with them now and always. May they be blessed with health and happiness, and with the strength to overcome sickness and sorrow. As we honor each one of you for the gifts that you bring to our sacred community, we join together in song as we mark this sacred occasion.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Many of you are familiar with the teachings that God promised the land of Israel to Abraham. And after many generations and 40 years of wandering in the wilderness of Sinai, the Jews finally come to the edge of the promised land. And so Moses speaks to them, to all of us indeed, about what would it take to inherit the land and continue to possess it. This week's Torah portion, Erev, offers two possible reasons behind the promise. One is a condition, the other a fact on the ground. The first passage, which opens this week's Torah portion, teaches that the possession of the land is conditional on our moral behavior. Short quote, it says, Erev, if you do obey these rules and observe them carefully, Adonai your God shall keep you the covenant and the mercy which God swore into your fathers. And God will love you and bless you in the land which God swore unto your fathers to give to you. The opening words of the parasha, Erev, and the word literally means if. If the Jews do not follow the Torah, they will pay the price of not inheriting the land. If they keep the Torah, then God will bless them. In his commentary to the Torah, Rabbi Shlomo Riskin teaches, quote, the keeping of the commandments may be compared to mortgage payments. The fault on the mortgage and the property gets taken away. End quote. However, a few lines farther in this same week's Torah portion, Moses teaches what seems a different reason for inheriting the promised land. Lo v'tzidkatcha uveyosher levavcha ata va'lareshet et artsam. Not for your righteousness or for your uprightness that you shall inherit to possess the land, but it was because of the wickedness of these nations that Adonai your God drove them out before you. So here Moses presents what seems a different view on our right to the land. In this explanation, it has less to do with our worthiness and more to do with our neighbor's fault. Jews are being judged in comparison to the nations around us rather than in the absolute terms of our own conduct. So, was it the merit of our ancestors or the faults of our neighbors that gave us the land of Israel? What a question.
That's, oof.
Perhaps it's not a question of either or, but rather a combination of both explanations. Many commentators have tried to harmonize both reasons and have suggested that entering the land of Israel was done in stages. So our initial entry into the land came about as a result of the evil of the other nations. At a later stage, whether or not we remain on the land will depend upon our ethical, moral, and spiritual conduct, as indicated by the initial verse of our parasha. This is to say, it is not a simple matter. Some external circumstances were involved, but also we bear some responsibility for what happens to our people. Following this thinking, it is clear that a successful enterprise is a combination of our merit and someone else's mistake. In other words, we only control 50% of what happens to us. But what happens when the 50% that we cannot control goes against our interest? The Jews were lucky that the Canaanites were so bad. If this year has taught us anything as human beings, is that we do not control a lot. What we don't control feels more than 50% at times, I tell you. But the COVID-19 pandemic is still really only part of what should guide our lives. So when the things that we do not control work against us, it is of double importance to turn to what we can do. Our moral behavior, our own merit, our goodness, our preparation, our compassion, all these things are still under our control. We must tender and nurture them now more than ever. No matter how the external circumstances are set for or against us, we still control a great deal of what happens in our lives. Constantly focusing on the pandemic or on the lack of responsibility on the part of the president, etc., means that those external factors take over our daily lives and ultimately determine how we live our lives, and that's just not right. Today, more than ever, we must concentrate on all the things that we can do, on all the ways we have to influence how we live our lives and how we impact others. And yes, of course, wear your masks in public and practice physical distance, wash your hands and all those good things, and of course, don't forget to vote. But the truth is that how you coped with unexpected stress and frustration can easily be the difference between living a good life and living a sick one. If we choose unhealthy coping mechanisms like avoidance, denial, or over-concernment with what we cannot control or change, you can quickly turn a tough situation into a tragic one. Granted, there's no easy or magic way out of this pandemic. Getting to the other side will take time, political leadership, and lots of solid scientific research. In other words, all those things on which we have no control. Time, what the politicians will do, and solid scientific research. It's just simply beyond our control. The Torah teaches that possessing the land of Israel is a balance between doing what is right on our part, and which is something that we actually can control, and on the other hand, external circumstances over which we have no control. Exactly the same is true about our lives today. Half of the things that we experience we may not be able to control. Some may call it luck, good or bad. Some may call it coincidence, or simply acts of nature or God. Being aware that there are things we cannot change should teach us humility, not desperation. But the other half, we pray, we do control, and knowing that we can change our moral world, the world of our relationships and values, must teach us optimism. An optimism emerging from the realization that we are still in charge of how we can cope with a pandemic and with anything else that may break the balance in our lives. Have a Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Our service now continues with our moment of remembrance, and as we prepare for our moment, we turn to page 593 and share together meditation number 2 at the top of the page. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirit of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. We now think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. We are observing the Shloshim period for Radine Shaw, mother and mother-in-law of Roseanne and Randy Deitch. Irma Schneiderson, stepmother and stepmother-in-law of Mark and Regan Schneiderson, and grandmother of Carly and Beth. Monica Kitt, mother and mother-in-law of Jeffrey and Barbara Kitt, and grandmother of Alexa and Sydney. And E.C. Ozer, husband of Leslie Ozer, father and father-in-law of Stephanie and Adam Eliashar, and grandfather of Jonah and Sarah. And on this Shabbat, we remember the following yortzites of members of our congregation: Michael Aronson, Donald E. Boyer, P.D. Brown, Edward Dubinsky, Murray Fogel, Joni Geifman, Hanley Green, Jerome Grossman, Lynn Grossman, Eugene Kaminowitz, Seymour Kaplan, Lyubov Kapustin, George King, Fanny Lampert, George Allen Mason, Sam Samberg, Patricia Schlesinger, Jerome F. Spiegel, Dixon Timmerman, Leonard Wacholder, Irvin E. Wade. If you're joining us on this Shabbat and are remembering a loved one, we invite you to add their names on the comments line. Zichronam livracha, may the memories be for a blessing. On page 598, we continue together as we recite Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alema divra chirute ve'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon u'vyamechon, u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman karev v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'le'alemei alemaya, yitbarach ve'ishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh, Beit Adar, Beit Ale, Beit Halal, Shmei Dekud Desha B'richu, Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata, Tush Bechata V'Nechemata, Da'amiram V'Alema V'Imru Amen. Yehei Shel Amar Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Mromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen. A few announcements before we conclude. We would like to thank everyone who has joined us from our area and from around the world. Special thanks to Larry Meyer and Leslie Zucker for lovely music, and to Dave Zucker, Riley Hendricksy, and Aviva Simons for managing our comments. We will be back here at 10:30 a.m. for our morning service on Facebook Live. Just a reminder that though our building is now open, you must have an appointment with a member of our staff in order to be let into the building. Our entire staff can still be reached by calling our office or by via email. And we had a wonderful turnout and time last Sunday when we did our drive-through drop-off. It was great to see so many of you behind your mask, and some of you I might have missed, but I think got most of you. It was great to see you. And it was a beautiful morning, too. So we'll do something like that again, probably during high holidays. We'll make it happen. And we're also going to have, I think, another open air service on 28th of August. So
yeah, I heard
just mark your calendar. It's coming. Until
and it's
then,
going to be much cooler.
Until then, oh yes, until then, if tomorrow you'd like to join us for Sichat Shabbat, it will begin at 9 a.m. on Zoom. Please see the event on Facebook. You still have a couple more days to sign up for Beth Torah's first ever virtual blood drive. Please check our e-news for details on how to donate through August the 9th. Our next Thursday conversations will convene Thursday, August 13 via Zoom, and the topic will be Simchas through the screen. Basically, a look at how we approach life cycle events when we are prevented from coming together in person. And finally, Tikkun KC is looking for volunteers to make a house a home. The tasks will include painting the interior, building a retaining wall, and moving construction debris. Please contact Larry Meyer if you're interested in helping. You can also call the office and we'll get you in touch
Sure.
with Larry.
And it is another full week. In addition to these things that are going on, song session on Wednesday. We're going to start learning, in addition to the regulars that we do, we're going to start looking at music toward Elul and the high holidays, because I hear they're just around the corner. Our next virtual ONEG will be next Friday, August 14th. Are you curious about what our theme's going to be? Then check your e-news next Friday, because that's where it will be along with the Zoom link. And finally, our next Facebook Live Havdalah will be next Saturday, August 15th at 8 o'clock Central. I added the Central because we're going to have some special guests joining us from Mountain Time.
Wow, interesting.
I know.
I wonder who that might be.
I'm trying to keep it intriguing. You know, curiosity helps you remember things. So if you're curious, then you'll remember to come to Havdalah.
Wonderful. Finally, don't forget to check us out on Facebook, like our page, and follow us. And please leave comments here. If you have any questions, please let us know. With that, wish everybody Shabbat Shalom, and please stay healthy. We conclude our time together on the Shabbat singing a pi'ur, a song, a poem on page 625 is Adon Olam.
Adon Olam Hashem Allah, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה וחסרו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם השם עלה, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה וחסרו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. בידו אף קידרו כי, בעת ישן והעירה, ועם רוחי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא, אדוני לי ולא יירא. אדון עולם השם עלה, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה וחסרו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, אזי מלך שמו נקרא.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Take care of each other out there. Mwah.